Fox News, as I said earlier, is America's election headquarters, and things are heating up. Brand new Fox News polling showing Donald Trump building his lead, widening his lead over the race for the Republican nomination. Trump getting support from 28% of GOP voters and maintaining a 10-point spread. Do you call it spread? I do. Yep. Over Dr. Ben Carson. Senators Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz both gaining in the poll as well. They're also tied for third place at 14%. No other candidates came close to double digits. And that raises an important question. Are we really just down to about 4 Republican candidates at this point? Let's bring in the Fox News political insiders. First, live from Los Angeles. That sounds like an entertainment show. Doug Schoen, former pollster for President Bill Clinton and Fox News contributor. Good to have you via satellite. John Leboutiller, former Republican congressman for New York, and Pat Caddell, a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and Fox News contributor. Doug, I'm going to start with you. It's too early to tell exactly where everybody's going to fall, right? But these 4, if you just add it up, they make up a big chunk of what people are saying they'll do when they head to the polls.
Right. There are 2 things going on. First, as we've been saying, the outsiders, Carson and most of all Trump, are dominating. And there is no sense in the data that there's been any diminution in support for the outsiders given the tragic terrorist attacks of the last few weeks. That being said, the most conservative outsiders, Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, are also increasing their level of support. But it's important to note that Trump has a 2-to-1 lead over both Rubio and Cruz. He has a substantial gap over Carson. The American people are responding to his message on immigration, his message on taking in Syrian immigrants, and as I think Pat will explain in a second, they see this as a real turning point, a crisis in American political life.
Well, Pat, Doug is now anchoring the segment, so he's just tossed to you. Take it away.
Hey, now for me, now I dance. No, exactly this is what's going on. We're seeing the Trump as a counteraction to the president, which we'll talk about, and a sense of leaderlessness, which we see in the Fox poll and other numbers. You know, there's other poll in the Washington Post morning does not show this same kind of lead, shows Trump actually further ahead, does not show Rubio and Cruz. But I think right now the 4 of them are in business. But let me say this. What's happening is we've had great anger in the country for months. And if you think that's something, now as it conflates with this foreign policy stuff, we will have I guarantee you, January and February are going to be like nothing you could imagine. We are talking about a country on the verge of blowing open.
John, how do you look at this in terms of Dr. Ben Carson? Because I'll tell you, some people say, well, he slid a little bit. Considering what the media, the mainstream media, and what he's kind of been asked about and dealing with his biography, he did pretty well. I mean, he's still right where he probably wants to be.
I don't think he's done that well lately. I think that his strength...
Well, according to this polling.
Well, no, according to this polling, he has slipped a little bit on the issue that was his strength, which is his unique honesty, his difference from being anybody else in the political system. He's had a couple bad weeks from his book, his inability to answer questions clearly about his own biography. He's weathering it, but he's not rising the way he was 3 weeks ago. Trump was under pressure from Carson just 2 weeks ago and felt the pressure and started going after Carson. Carson deteriorated a little bit since then, but he's still in there. There's no doubt. And he represents a part of the outsiders who I think they're more Christian, more evangelical, a very big block of the Republican Party. He has them in love with him. They love him.
Real quickly, can Donald Trump take credit for more of a national conversation now that's going on about this refugee crisis?
Yes.
Because he brought it up.
Yes. Trump is the most uniquely positioned candidate on immigration, a porous border, the Syrian refugees, who a month ago he said there are a disproportionate number of men coming, I'd send them all back. He's way ahead of the curve on all those issues.
And it's also the incompetence of government. He talks about leadership that doesn't lead, a government that can get nothing done on this, and he contrasts himself as a can-do person. And all the people who've been in public office, they keep mumbling things, but no one contrasts it the way Trump does.
All right, real quickly with you, Doug, I want to pop up how everybody else is doing. So when you look down beyond Cruz and Rubio and you break out of those double digits, you've got clustered Bush, Christie, and Fiorina with between, and Huckabee with between 3 and 5%, and then it breaks off even lower. Given the margin of error, some people might not even be getting a percentage point there. But what are your thoughts about that?
Well, my thoughts are where you began, Harris, is what I would say now, which is Bush, Christie, Fiorina, Huckabee, Kasich, and Paul. They are sinking, and they are, it's probably right to say, beginning to lose their relevance in this race. This is a four-person race. People want outsiders. They want restrictions on immigration. Terror is the #1 issue in the ABC poll to Republicans. And as Pat was saying, they want change, fundamental change, and the outsiders, the conservatives, are giving it to them.
All right, real quickly from Twitter, Randy Bellet says, does Trump have the ground game necessary in Iowa and New Hampshire? It's a yes or no question, yes or no?
I don't know. I think it doesn't matter. I think yes. You can win it. I think the attachment to him, and he's building there, but it'll all be ending late. One thing to note, Harris, is that every single Republican now, including the, quote, people who couldn't win, Trump and Cruz, are beating Hillary Clinton. It is a sign of what's going on.
On ground game, can I answer the ground game? I think people underestimate how powerful Cruz's ground game is. This guy has been planning this thing a long time, and he's sort of under the radar, but it's there in Iowa, definitely in New Hampshire. Don't underestimate it.
We'll be watching it all.